AJ Akshar Academy YouTube channel. In this session, I am going to discuss human eye and colorful world. In this lesson, I am going to discuss question and answers from 1 to 5. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for the more updates and share your valuable comments in the comment section. Let us go to the today's session, human eye and colorful world, question and answers 1 to 5. Go to the first question. How do you correct the eye defect myopia? This is a diagram for myopia. Observe this diagram. These are the light rays coming from the infinity, and these rays are falls on this convex lens and they meet at the point before the retina. Here this is the image point. This is the retina. So actually image falls on the retina. Here when the object is at infinity, all the rays are converging and they meet at the point before the retina. Now this is the myopic eye. Now we'll discuss what is myopia. Myopia nothing but some people cannot see long distances, but they can see near objects clearly. So this type of defect of vision is known as myopia. Myopia, another name, near sightedness. Myopia nothing but people cannot see long distances clearly, but they can see near objects clearly. So this type of defect of vision is known as myopia. Myopia is corrected by using concave lens of focal length equal to the distance of far point f from the eye. This is the picture far point of a myopic eye. This is the far point. Here we are placing the object. We are sending the light rays and these rays are passing through this eye lens. This is the convex lens, eye lens, crystalline lens, and these rays are after refraction, they meet at the point, the image falls on the retina. So this is the retina. Now we are using for correction concave lens. Myopia is corrected by using a concave lens. Concave lens, or we can call it as diverging lens of focal length equal to the distance of far point f from the eye. How can you correct myopia? Next we will observe. So this is a diagram for correction of myopia. So in this case, this lens divergent, the parallel rays, these are the parallel rays. Parallel rays are from the distant object, as if they are coming from the far point. Finally, the eye lens form a clear image at the retina. This is the retina place, and these, first of all, here the rays are coming from the distant object. These are parallel rays. Parallel rays are falls on this convex lens and they formed image before the retina, and from the far point they falls on the retina, but myopic eye cannot able to see the image clearly. So for this correction we are using concave lens. This is a concave lens. So by using this concave lens, these are appear to meet at a point focus. These are diverging and they are meet at a point focus. So now this is the object place and then they falls the image on the retina. So by using the concave lens, myopic eye can able to see the objects clearly, which image forms on the retina. So finally the eye lens form a clear image at the retina. So then we can able to see the images clearly. So next, how can you calculate this concave focal length of this concave lens? Let us see. Here object distance is infinity and image distance is equal to the far point. Object distance is denoted by letter u. U is equals to minus infinity. Why? Because minus, according to rules for sign conventions, we are using minus. So here v denotes the distance of far point, that is minus d, and f denotes the focal length of biconcave lens. 1 by f is equals to 1 by v minus 1 by u. This is the lens formula. So by using lens formula, 1 by f is equals to 1 by v minus 1 by u. Substituting u and v values in this, we get 1 by f is equals to 1 by v nothing but minus d, and u nothing but infinity minus infinity, minus minus plus. So it becomes 1 by f is equals to 1 by minus d minus minus plus 1 by infinity value 0. So 1 by minus d plus 0, 1 by minus d. So 1 by f is equals to minus 1 by d. That implies focal length is equals to minus d. Here we have to observe f becomes negative. So here f is negative nothing but that is a concave lens. For concave lens focal length is negative. For convex lens focal length is positive. So we can clearly say that for the correction of myopia we are using concave lens. So f is negative, showing that it is a concave lens. Okay. Next we will go to the next question. Second one, explain the correction of the eye defect hypermetropia. Now I am going to discuss correction of eye defect hypermetropia. This is the diagram showing the hypermetropia. This is the hypermetric point, and it is the L is the minimum distance, and it is the convex lens, and it is the eye. And next here, first case, the image is formed beyond the retina. Now we'll discuss what is meant by hypermetropia. Person with hypermetropia can see distances object and but cannot see objects at near distances. This is also known as far-sightedness. Eye lenses can form a clear image on the retina when any object is placed beyond near point. See this second diagram. Here we are placing the object beyond near point. So the image is formed on the retina. This is the retina place. Here in the first picture, here the image is formed beyond the retina. We cannot able to see the objects when the image is formed beyond the retina. See this second picture. Here eye lenses can form a clear image on the retina when any object is placed beyond near point. Here we are placing the object beyond near point. Now these rays are falling on this convex lens and they form an image on the retina. So who are defecting this hypermetropia? The persons cannot able to see the images. Now we are going for the correction of the eye defect hypermetropia. Now we'll discuss what is the correction of the eye defect hypermetropia. To correct the defect of hypermetropia, we need to use a lens which forms an image of an object beyond your point at H. When the object is in between H and L, this is possible only when a double convex lens is used. So see this diagram. Here we are rectifying the image who are suffering the eye defect hypermetropia, here we are using the biconvex lens to correct the hypermetropia. This is the convex lens. Biconvex lens we are placing the in front of the eye. Here, to correct the defect of hypermetropia, we need to use a lens which forms an image on object beyond your point at H. This is hypermetric point and it is L is the minimum distance, and here we are placing the object beyond that point H. When the object is in between H and L, this is possible only when a double convex lens is used. So here initially the image forms beyond the retina. Whenever we are placing the beyond the object at H, then the image forms on the retina. Who are suffering hypermetropia, they cannot able to see the image. So we are doing correction. For correction, we are using this convex lens. By using this lens, it is a converging lens and these rays are meeting at this point. Now this is the object. Then human eye who are suffering the defect of hypermetropia, they can see the image clearly which falls on the retina. Okay. Next we will go to the next one. The image act like an object for the eye lens, hence final image due to eye is formed on at retina. Now after correction, image is formed on the retina. Now we are calculating the focal length. Here object distance is minus 25 centimeters. Here minus sign indicates according to rules for sign convention, we are taking minus sign. So image distance is equals to distance of near point, that is equals to minus d. Now f represents the focal length of biconvex lens. From lens law, 1 by f is equals to 1 by v minus 1 by u. By using lens formula, we are writing the expression for focal length, that is 1 by f is equals to 1 by v minus 1 by u. Substituting the u and v values in this, we get v nothing but minus d and u nothing but minus 25. Here minus minus plus 25. So here 1 by d, 1 by minus d plus 1 by 25. Now taking LCM, minus 25d, here 25 minus d. Here we are writing, taking minus as a common, it becomes d minus 25 by minus 25d. Minus minus gets cancels. So 1 by f is equals to, we are getting d minus 25 by 25d, or we can written as f is equals to reciprocal 25d by d minus 25. Next one, if d is greater than 25, then f becomes positive. It indicates that we need to use biconvex lens because focal length of convex lens is positive. So here we are getting the positive value for focal length. So hence it is biconvex lens. So for the correction of hypermetropia, we need to use biconvex lens. Okay, next we will go to the next question. Third one, how do you find experimentally the refractive index of material of a prism? Here I am going to explain experimental verification of refractive index of material of a prism. Now I will discuss one by one. Aim to find the refractive index of prism. Now materials required: prism, piece of white chart of size 20 into 20 centimeter, and pencil, pins, scale and protractor. Next, This is a diagrammatical representation of the prism. This is the prism, triangular prism. P, Q, R are the 3 points, and here P, Q, Q, R, P, R are the sides of a triangle, and this is the incident ray, and here we are taking the 2 pins where you are situated here, 2 pins of the 2 points A and B, and it is normal, nothing but a perpendicular line. And again here we are placing the prism, and by observing these 2 pins through the glass prism, we have to place another side 2 pins. So first we have to take a prism and we have to trace out the prism, that is P, Q, R, and then we have to take a 2 pins and we have to place the 2 pins of the one side of the prism, and these two are considered as A and B. Join the 2 pins and we are taking, this is the incident ray, this is the incident ray or light ray, and now we have to draw a normal nothing but a perpendicular line. Angle between incident ray and normal is known as angle of incidence. Here we are denoting as a letter I1. So now we have to place the prism. We have to observe the prism on other side, these images of the 2 pins, and we have to situate these 2 pins on the other side of the prism. These two are, we are denoting as a C and D. First incident ray, whenever the incident ray traveling from rarer medium to here denser medium, the refracted ray move towards normal. This is the refracted ray. Mn denotes the refracted ray. After refraction, and again this is the incident ray. Now the incident ray traveling from a denser medium to a rarer medium, the behavior of refracted ray move away from the normal, and this is known as the emergent ray. Now in this picture, CD represents the emergent ray, and here we are drawing the another normal, that is here N, at point N we have to draw another normal. This angle between normal and emergent ray is known as angle of emergence. So now we are extending the incident ray and emergent ray. These two are meeting at one point. This point is known as O. Angle between these 2 points is known as angle of deviation, and intersecting two sides, that is angle of the prism. Here angle of prism is denoted by letter A. Angle of prism is A, that is equal to 60 degrees. This is equilateral prism. So in equilateral prism all angles are equal. Here also angle of the prism A is equals to 60 degrees. Okay. Now let us go to the procedure. Take a prism and place it on the white chart in such a way that the triangular base of the prism is on the chart. Draw a line around the prism base using a pencil. Remove the prism and name the vertices of a triangle so formed as P, Q, R. This is a trace out of the prism, and P, Q are the 3 vertices of this triangle. Okay, next go to the third point. Now next we are going next point. See this picture. The third point is measure the angle between PQ and PR. This is the angle of prism A. So here in this picture, A denotes the angle of prism. Angle between PQ and PR. Two sides, one is the PQ, the other side is PR. So this is the angle of prism. Next, mark M on the side triangle PQ and draw a perpendicular to PQ at M. Here we are drawing the normal or a perpendicular to PQ. Here it is at point M we have to draw a perpendicular line. Mark M on the side triangle PQR and draw a perpendicular to PQ at M. Okay, next point. Draw a line with 30 degrees to the normal at M. This line denotes the incident ray. So, at 30 degrees, this is 30 degrees, nothing but for example, we are taking 30 degrees. At normal, we have to draw a line. This is the line incident ray. This line denotes the incident ray. Note this value in the table. This is the table angle of incidence, angle of emergence and angle of deviation. For each and every value we have to calculate. Here we are increasing the 30, 35, 40, 40 like that. So we have to measure each and every angle of incidence, angle of emergence also. So we have to measure the angle of incidence and angle of emergence, and last we have to calculate angle of deviation. Angle of deviation nothing but extending of incident ray and extending of emergent ray. These two rays are meeting at this point. This point is O. This is angle of deviation D. The angle between extending of incident ray and extended emergent ray is known as angle of deviation. Next. Now sixth point. Place the prism in its position again. Now fix two pins vertically on the line at the points A and B. Look for the images of the pins through the prism from another side PR and fix another two pins at points C, N, D in such a way that all the pins, here 4 pins appear to lie along the same straight line. Now remove the pins and take out the pins. Draw a line joining C and D and to meet PR at N. This is known as emerging ray or emergent ray. Draw a normal PR at N. Now we are drawing the normal PR at point N. Next. The angle between the normal at end and the emergent ray is the angle of emergence. Measure this angle and note its value in the above table. In the above table, we are measuring the angle of incidence. From this, we have to calculate angle of emergence. So, after that, we have to calculate angle of deviation. Now, join the points M and N by a straight line. The line passing through the points A, B, C, M, N and D represents the path of the light when it suffers refraction through the prism. Extend both incident and emergent rays till they meet at point O. Measure angle MON. This is the angle of deviation. It is denoted by letter D. Note this value in the table. And the next, we will go to the next one. Repeat the process for different angles of incidence and measure corresponding angle of deviations. Take angle of incidence along x-axis and the angle of deviation along y-axis. Draw a graph. We obtain a curve. Draw a tangent line to the curve parallel to the x-axis and at the lowest point of the graph, the point where this line cuts the y-axis gives the angle of minimum deviation. See this graph. This is a ID curve. We are taking on x-axis angle of incidence, on y-axis angle of deviation. Here we are taking the angle of incidence and angle of deviation. The behavior of a graph is a curve. Now we are drawing the tangents. Draw a tangent line to the curve along the parallel to the x-axis at the lowest point of the graph. The point where this line cuts the y-axis gives the angle of minimum deviation. Whenever the angle of incidence is equals to angle of emergence, this small d becomes capital D. This capital D denotes the angle of minimum deviation. Next, the refractive index of prism n is equals to, we can represent the refractive index either letter n or mu, that is equals to sine of a plus d by 2 by sine a by 2, where a is the angle of prism and d is the angle of minimum deviation. By using this formula, we can measure the refractive index of a material of a prism. So, refractive index of a material of the prism, mu is equals to, or n is equals to sin a plus d by 2 by sin a by 2, where a is the angle of the prism and d is the angle of minimum deviation. Okay, next. Go to the next question, fourth one. Explain the formation of rainbow. Now we'll discuss answer. Rainbow. The rainbow is an arc of 7 colors visible in the sky, which is produced by the dispersion of sunlight by raindrops in the atmosphere. This is a diagram showing the formation of a rainbow. Observe this figure. The rays of the sunlight and enter the drop near its top surface. At this first reaction, the white light is dispersed into its spectrum of 7 colors. Here, splitting of white light into its constituent colors is known as dispersion. Here, after entering the sunlight into the water drop, at first reaction, the white light is dispersed into the spectrum of 7 colors, violet being deviated the most and red the least. Reaching the opposite side of the drop, each color is reflected back into the drop because of total internal reflection. Because of total internal reflection, reaching the opposite side of the drop, each color is reflected back into the drop. So, here we are obtaining the spectrum of 7 colors in between the 40 degrees to 42 degrees. Okay, next point. Arriving at the surface of the drop, each color is again reflected into air. At the second refraction, the angle between red and violet rays further increases when compared to the angle between those first refraction. We observe bright rainbow when the angle between incoming and outgoing rays is near the maximum angle 42 degrees. Whenever we are reaching the maximum angle 42 degrees, then we can observe a bright rainbow of consisting of 7 colors. The next question, fifth one, explain briefly the reason for the blue color of the sky. Now I am going to explain why the sky is in blue color. Now we'll discuss. The scattering of blue component of the white light by air molecules like nitrogen, oxygen present in the atmosphere causes the blue color of the sky. Atmosphere contains the molecules of nitrogen and oxygen. Our atmosphere contains different types of molecules and atoms. So the reason for the blue sky is due to these molecules of nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen and oxygen are present more in the atmosphere. The size of these molecules are comparable to the wavelength of blue light. So, whenever we are comparing the wavelengths of all colors in the spectrum, that is which here violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, only blue color is the comparable wavelength of these molecules of oxygen and nitrogen. So, These molecules acts as the scattering center for the scattering of blue light. That's why we are able to see the color, blue color of the sky. Sky is in blue color.